An Eau Claire author who lived in the Middle East for years and wrote about her story in a Beirut heart is out with a new book, a novel. Kathy Sultan's new book is the second in a planned trilogy about the Syrian war called Damascus Street, and we're happy to have Kathy Sultan with us today. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, Judy, for the invitation.
So tell us about your experience, first of all, in the Middle East and your interest in it.
Well, 49 years ago this year, in fact it was last month on the 16th of June, I left the States with my Lebanese husband, who had just finished his medical training, and two young children, 1 and 2 years old, and began the adventure of a lifetime. Little did I know in 1969 that shortly thereafter we would be living through a civil war, which began in 1975. And we stayed for the first 8 years and then left for various reasons. We were pretty tired of being under the bombs for that amount of time, and came and settled back in the States. And people always ask me, why Eau Claire? Well, my husband did his GI training at the University Hospitals in Madison. And so he called his boss when we got back to the States, and he goes, I need a job. And physicians here called Morrissey the next day, Dr. Morrissey, and said, we need a GI guy. And Morrissey called him back and said, found the guy.
I've got one. And here you are in Eau Claire.
Yeah, so that was in 1984.
It's the last 34 years here in Eau Claire.
Right.
And you've written 3 books of nonfiction.
My first 3, of course, the memoir was the first one, and then 2 books that are very political and somewhat heavy. I've had the privilege through some non-governmental agency work to visit Israel and Palestine 6 times. We regularly take delegations and visit both Israeli activists and Palestinian activists, and just try to give our delegates, generally they number around 36 per trip, and give them an example of what goes on both sides of the divide. And I would go back very often to Beirut. It feels like I left my heart there. I really did leave my heart there. It's a place that sort of gets under your skin and never lets you go. So we're back very often, and for me as a writer, and I'm a news junkie, so I just land and start asking questions. I follow it, and it's a passion for me.
Sure.
It's a true passion.
And you said both sides, so you're, the nonpartisan part of this comes in.
Well, it's a little difficult to be nonpartisan, but when you're in a situation like that. But we do our best to take the people to talk to Palestinians in refugee camps, the settlers in the West Bank, activists who are actually in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, tours of the old city. So we give them a 2-week trip on the ground and give them a really in-depth, first-hand eyewitness experience.
Education part of it. And now you've written 2 books now that are that are fiction.
Right. I turned to fiction because figured that a lot of people are turned off by the Middle East. Often they'll say, oh my God, they've been at this forever. And it's not really true, but I decided that the best way, oftentimes when it comes to the Middle East, is to tell the story through fiction and to tell the truth through fiction. And these particular 2 books, and then the third to come, are about the Syrian civil war. And I think there's very little that we accurately know in this country for various reasons, whether they be political or otherwise. And I get a chance to tell a really good thriller and throw in some truths about what's really going on the ground.
Sure. And you have a book signing coming up.
I do.
I want to mention that. That's on July 10th, next
Correct.
Tuesday.
At 7 p.m. at Volume 1.
Okay, you're going to do that. And then also books are available
at Volume 1, the local store, and on Amazon, in both paperback and Kindle versions.
All right, very interesting. Again, the book signing is Tuesday, July 10th at 7 p.m. at the local store, Volume 1 in Eau Claire. Thanks again for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.